Hello, Yuki Bandit. So here we are with the rhythm pyramid exercise. This is a really useful exercise. This will get you better at your strumming for sure, and also it will show you how to count and play the strums correctly, and the main type of rhythms that you'll come across. If you practice it, you'll start to identify these within songs as well. And when we're playing songs, sometimes it's quite difficult to know what strumming pattern to use. So this will give you a few options. So there's a lot of worth to this. And to start off with, let's explain about what a rhythm pyramid is. So a rhythm pyramid, here's a pyramid, and I'll take my mug out of the equation. There you go. So at the top of the pyramid we have a whole note, then a half note, then a quarter note, an eighth note and a 16th. Now we're going to throw one more in there, a triplet, but the idea is that you start off at the very top of the pyramid with one strum, which is represented by a note value, and as we add more strums, obviously the pyramid widens until you've got quite a few strums at the bottom of the pyramid. So that's what a rhythm pyramid is. You don't have to understand this entirely, or this is just the terminology we use to represent the beat values, but I will explain that as I go along on my sheet anyway, which is here. Let's me add me mug in, and the idea really will be to count to 4, and the reason we count to 4 because that is a bar of music, and precisely it's a bar within 4/4 that we're using. So 4/4 means that we're playing 4 beats in the bar, and if we were to clap to any piece of music that we hear, to the pulse or the rhythm of the music, it might be what you stomp to, tap your hand to, or nod your head to, whatever it is, you'll feel a pulse of any song, any piece of music. There'll be a pulse running through it, and if you can clap to that pulse and feel that pulse, and then you break it up into 4, so basically 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we start again. So rather than continuous, we just break each one of these into groupings of 4. Then that is what 4/4 is. It's a song where they'll be dissected into bars of those beats. And so some songs might have 4 strums on the C, 4 strums on the F, and then back again. You might even have 2 strums on one chord, 2 strums on the other, but we're still counting as if there's 4 in every bar. And that just helps us when we're going through a piece of music to know where we are and to align it with the other parts of the music that are going on. So here we start with a whole note strum. A whole note strum is just where you strum on the first beat and then you count the 4. Let it ring and just count 4. So it'll be something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Now at the top it says standard tuning and the 120. I've crossed that out because it's not important. What's important is you play this and count it at your own speed. So if you're wondering about what speed to do this, nice and slow, whatever's comfortable, and as you get better at it, just speed it up naturally. So we're literally going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then again 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're just going to strum on that first one of every 4 and count along. When we look at the next one, it's a half note strum. What we're looking at there really is you're just strumming it for 2 beats, and every 2 beats, and we still count our 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're strumming on the 1 and the 3rd beat of every bar. So what you want to do is practice doing the first one, which should be basic for everyone, but if you don't count and you're just strumming along with songs and you're not really counting, then as you go to do these more complex strums, it will get really difficult. So even though it sounds just a little bit simple, just counting 4 and strumming on the first one, you'll notice as we start adding more and more strums how that's really important. So the second one's pretty easy, and then the quarter strum, which you can see here, yet again pretty easy because it's on every beat, and we're literally doing the same thing here. So on a C chord, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you'll be strumming on every one of those beats constantly. Now you could practice doing this on any chord you like, or changing in every bar. So we could do a bar of C, then we could do a bar of F, do a bar of G. So if you've just started and you've learnt 4 chords, C, F, G and A minor, which are the common ones, then you do a bar on one chord, bar on the other chord, and you start with your basic strum, and then when you might go to the half, you might go to the quarter. Now if you're playing a song and it's quite simple, there's a chord that's going on for ages, and you're really comfortable doing that quarter note strum, and then all of a sudden you get to, say for example, you get to an F that's only 2 beats and a G that's only 2 beats, and you're still trying to do the 1, 2, 3, 4, but you're finding it tricky going from one chord to the other, then this is where the half note strum would be useful, because you still count the beats so that you stay in time with the music, but you only strum on the actual chord itself. So 1, 2, and then you want to go to the G chord, 3, 4. So if I play that for a bar, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm still counting it, 1, 2, 3, 4, but I'm aiming for the 1 on the F chord on the 1 and the G chord on the 3, and that's brought me a little bit of time rather than actually going 1, 2, 3, 4, because when I'm strumming I've got to make sure that in between each strum I'm changing, or on that second strum I've got to change straight to that chord, whereas if I do it on the first one I can actually change earlier, I can change in the gap if you like. So this is where having the strumming and the counting working together will really help you, especially if you're starting out or you're at a stage where you've learned a few new chords and those new chords are quite difficult. Just try doing that. Try doing the difficult chords on the strums where you have more space, and the ones you're comfortable with, make them slightly more difficult and maybe put more strumming in. You can certainly combine these rhythms. So those first 3 strumming patterns will be something like this on a C chord: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then quarters: 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you can count 4 and then go between the different strumming pattern, and you got that far, you're doing good. You're doing really good. The next one is 8th note strumming. There's a couple of ways you can do 8th note strumming. Now, if you're playing a quick song and it's like a rock and roll song and it's all straight 8ths, it's all 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So 8th notes are just counted like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So we still have our 1, 2, 3, 4. We're just filling the space in between each note now, and it'll be counted like that: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And now if we were doing that on a slow song, I'd say down and ups are nice: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And but it also depends on the style of music. So some styles of music lend themselves well to that down and up strum, pop songs in particular, because you can hear a difference in the upstrokes, the downstrokes. We're using the finger a bit more than the nail on the way up, and also because you're hitting the lower strings rather than the higher strings, there's a slight difference in the sound that the quality of sound that we're producing when we strum that way. Whereas if we do it all down strum, they all sound the same, and we could use that quite a lot on things like rock and roll. Sounds quite good. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So downstrokes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down and up strokes. Practice them both. But what you definitely could do is go between the quarters and the 8ths. So you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Notice I used all downs, and if I used ups, down and ups on those 8ths. 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the idea is that when I do the down strums, my arm is going, my hand is actually moving up over the strings anyway to miss the strings. So it's easy to do down and ups that way because you're just hitting the strings. But it also depends on how quick it is. If it's quite a quick song, then down and ups you'll be able to find them easier. But obviously if it's rock and roll, downs would sound better. If it's a slower song, then downs are just as easy really. And it depends if we're adding other note values, and you'll see this in a minute when we look at the other note values. So that's 8th notes. And then when we look at the triplets, all triplets are you're strumming 3 in every beat. So there are some songs, a lot of ballads like using this strumming pattern, and you'll hear this quite a lot in blues music as well. You'll hear a thing called shuffle and swing, which I've done other videos on, which rely on a triplet rhythm as well. And the idea is that you just, on every beat, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and we're hearing 1 and or 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2. We're hearing 3 notes, but we'll never lose the pulse rhythm. We'll never lose the pulse beat. So if I was doing these all downs, this is how it would sound: 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 4. 3 2 3 4 2 3 1 2 3 2 2 3 3 2 3 4 2 1 2 3 2 2 3 3 2 3 4 2 3. So you count the beat and then obviously play them on those beats. So the idea really is that down strums would work quite well in the slower songs, or slower ballady songs, to get that nice even sound like I was talking about. But you could easily do these as down and ups. You could go down, down, up if you wanted to. So you can experiment. There's not really a right and a wrong way of strumming if there's straight triplets. But certainly if you're putting these in amongst other rhythms, there'd be a better way of playing them. So it really depends. So if we were to do these as all straight down ups, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, you could certainly play that a little bit quicker because you haven't got to do so much movement as you have with the down strums. So if it was a quicker song, so 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, if it was something like that, down and up strums would be a lot easier. But a slower song, downs would work, and you quite often hear that the first one of every three is slightly heavier, especially in slower songs. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. So for triplet rhythms, experiment a little bit yet again, but count. Make sure you don't use the pulse. What you should never do is lose the pulse. Now obviously going from eighths, that we do here, the triplets is quite tricky. So if I was to do it nice and slow, we got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a... Because that go from that triplet, that even eighths, that triplet is really tricky. But it's a good exercise. That's the whole point of it. You start at the top, you do your whole note strum, you count 4, you go to the half, you go to the quarters, you do your quarter strums, count on every beat, then you do your eighths and then our triplets, and then finally the bottom of the pyramid we're going to be playing the 16ths, and like it suggests, we're playing 16th strums in one bar, 16 notes. So if it was a fast song, you hear this certainly in a lot of funky music. You hear these fast 16ths with the arms going straight up and down. Essentially it's exactly what you do with eighths, exactly, it's twice as quick. So if you think of it as one, if you can go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, you just have to count the way you count. You have to change the way you count, which would be 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4E so 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4E so if you can count that rhythm and say it like that, it makes it a lot easier as well. And you'll hear this in a lot of music, and if it's slow as well, you hear a lot of 16ths played in between the eighths. I'll give you the example of that in a minute, but if we look at the 16ths straight, we're going to literally play this as down and up strums, and we're going to go really slow to start with as well. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and so nice even strums, but down and up. And the idea is that you get used to doing that, and it's just speed it up ever so slowly at a time, so that you start playing it more like around the normal tempo, or the tempo that you normally do your quarters and eighths at. So if we were doing our eighths, or if we're doing our quarters like this, 1 2 3, our eighths would be like this, and our 16ths would be like this. So you can see the difference. I've multiplied the strumming each time. And the great thing about practicing it like this and counting and feeling where the beat is and practicing that is that you'll hear this in songs a lot when they mix them. Sometimes you'll have a breakup of those different rhythms, which makes it really interesting and really musical. And sometimes you might have one chord that's just going on for 16ths, and then another chord, So another strum change into a different time value. And so just recognizing that and hearing that, if you practice it, you'll hear it in songs and you'll be able to recognize what's going on. So for that identification, if you like, of the rhythms that you're hearing, and then translating that to your instrument is very useful. Especially if you're looking at chord charts on websites and you're trying to interpret and you think, well, I don't know what the rhythm is. And sometimes they have rhythms written down and they might have 16ths and 8ths written down, in which case that's quite useful. Not always are they right, and sometimes you might want to choose something, or you hear something different, you want to try something slightly different as well. So you can certainly, within 4/4, use any of those rhythms. And that is the rhythm pyramid in a nutshell, really. But what I'll do is I'll just go through each one of those rhythms one by one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it like that so you can at least see it, and I will shove me out of the way. So I'm going to go through every one of those and stay on the pulse. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2, 3 and a 4 and a 1, 2, 3, 4, and I might go right up to the beginning again. So you can hear what I did. It's quite difficult when you start putting the triplets to the 16ths, the 8th triplet 16th. That's very tricky. So you want to do them individually, maybe put some spaces in between them, and then really what you want to do then is just practice going from one to the other, or even mixing them around. Maybe start with the 8th strums as downstrokes, and then go to the 16ths. Because if we do our 8th notes as down strums, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then actually when you go to 16ths, you are literally going down, you're filling the gap of the 8ths, the upstrokes, which is where you'll hear a lot of songs. Wonderwall's a good example of that. There's a lot of like reggae as well, and like just pop strums in general, where you'll hear 8th notes being played with downstrokes. And you put these 16ths in the middle where you're filling in the gaps. So we will look at more rhythm based ideas, maybe some actual strumming patterns and ideas based on these, but this guide or this exercise is going to help you understand each note value, each rhythm value. So I hope it's helpful. Obviously please leave a comment, and if there's anything that you want me to add or might be useful for you in regards to this, please let me know. And have fun. And I think what I'll do is I'll do a separate video which is just this exercise going round and round and round on a loop, so that you can try and keep in time with it. I think that would be really useful to practice with it. A nice simple tempo as well. Anyway guys, have a good one, and I will see you soon.